Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Driveway Podcast with Baz and Jen. That sniffle you just heard was Jen,
I
and I'm Baz. And we just saw The Testament of Ann Lee, directed by I think it's Mona Fastvold,
yeah.
um, starring the incredible Amanda Seyfried, and also Thomasin McKenzie and Pullman. I'd say those are probably like the three.
Yeah.
Christopher Abbott's in here for a little bit too. I need to start off today. At the time of recording this, at the time we saw this movie, it's January 22nd, 2026. The the Oscar award nominations were just announced today. And Amanda Seyfried was not nominated for Best Actress. In addition, this movie was nominated for approximately 0 Oscars. And that, my friends, I think is blasphemy.
That is the worst tragedy that has ever happened, ever.
Like,
Sinners got 16 nominations and this film got 0.
and this is not even like a Sinners hate.
No.
We both liked Sinners. I liked it more than you did.
Yeah, Baz loves Sinners. I liked it.
But, like,
This film
They
bats
kind of
99.9% of films ever made out of the water.
okay, that's a little bit too
Don't
much for
care.
me, I think. But,
Don't care.
yeah, well, why don't you get us started?
I am a deeply not religious person in the slightest. There were times in this movie where I just started crying from how moved and emotional and spiritually connected to something that I've never felt before. And it was...
We're bumping that shaker population up to 3.
Yeah.
That,
It was so fucking beautiful in the way that, like, all of the people there were, like, coming together in their very unique way of professing their beliefs, and, like, the movements and the dancing and the choreography and the singing that they were all doing, like, the way that they blocked the scenes, the actors weren't moving as people, but it was like one continuous mass that was like, I don't know how, that makes it sound so grotesque, but it was like,
maybe not a continuous mass, more of
it was
just
like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life.
it kind of felt like a almost like a feather boa being like pulled along.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it was like, and every actor there was like fully selling the devotion and the belief and whatever. And like the way that they moved together was just like, I don't know, man. It was so beautiful to witness. And the cinematography in this film only helped to like really accent that. And I'll go on a fucking rant because I made a bullet pointed list in my head of shots that like
Please.
I can't unsee ever again. I genuinely think that Amanda Seyfried in the scene at the end of the film where the building's burning down, the scene, that is the best acting performance I think I've ever seen in my life. I don't care that that's a hot take. I don't
necessarily know that it's a hot take as much as it's like a bold take.
That is the best
You know what
acting
I mean?
performance I've ever seen in my entire life. Also, shout out to the fucking people who scored this movie, because every second of it is like, it's so...
It's also...
I fucking sat there in silence until the very end of the credits when the screen went off and the lights came up, because I wanted to listen to every single fucking second
that
of the
song
sound
that
design.
played over the credits
Oh
was
my
so
God.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
But also, like,
And
I
all
like
the
that they...
people, the actors are singing in it too.
I don't...
Or not all
I
the
don't
main
know.
ones. Amanda Seyfried and Thomasin McKenzie.
Yeah.
Century, what's his name?
Lewis Pullman.
Pullman. All the three of them were credited on all the songs that we saw them sing. Like, at least our main cast are all actually singing.
But also, I really appreciate that the score was not afraid to get almost sinister in some parts.
It was
especially
very
when
sinister.
They're like, I don't know how exactly to describe it, but I appreciate that the movie, at least for me, And I'm thinking about the I Love Mother song.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, I agree. I felt moved by just the portrayal of devotion and like actual, not religious fervor, but like it felt like it was believed in, that they thought that this was like one of the best parts of their lives.
Yeah. The care and like the sense of community, I think.
Yeah, and I think like I think they did a great job at portraying what I personally think the best parts about religion are. Of it's it can be a source and a sense of community for this person's gonna fucking kill me. Asshole. Sorry. Sense of community. And just like the banding together when going through some of the most heinous shit, especially in the 1700s when so much heinous shit was happening.
Yeah.
And like Anne Lee specifically lost all 4 of her children
Before any of them were a year old.
like, and just the voyage from, I guess, Britain to America is the appropriate way. I don't know if the UK is better, but Manchester to New York across the ocean, which I'm afraid of the ocean. I did have to look away at some parts just because made me feel a little ill. But like, I think like, obviously, like the scene is the one towards the end where she gets captured and everyone gets beaten and killed,
whipped and murdered and
but
raped.
I think the other scene for me is when they're praying on the boat after the storm.
Yeah.
And it kind of the song kind of jumps through time a bit to show like the different weather conditions. And then like
that was one of the scenes that I was going to talk about.
The choreography, especially with the hands. I want to make sure I shout out our beloved Thomasin McKenzie in particular, because she really threw her body into this choreography. And not that the other actors didn't, but whenever like there were group scenes, I was always paying attention to her because her movements just felt so involved.
Yeah.
And like she was really throwing herself into it because she believed in it so much as Mary. I forget the last name.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah, and just I think there's a plethora of amazing things in this movie. It's a shame how Searchlight Pictures distributed this. It's a shame that it's gonna go unrecognized by the Academy, and I'm sure in 5 years the Academy is gonna post an Instagram reel of Amanda Seyfried in this movie.
Oh yeah.
And then all the comments will be like, okay, well, why the fuck didn't you nominate her and you nominated Kate Hudson instead? I haven't seen Song Sung Blue, but from what I'm hearing, it's not a deserved nomination this year. But I appreciate as well, it showed the great parts about religion, but I also feel it didn't
shy away from
it
the
wasn't
negatives.
Afraid to go away from the negatives. And
she casts out her sister, who's basically her niece, who's basically her daughter, like as soon as they get to America, because she goes against the church. She gives her a choice of,
well, I don't know if church is appropriate.
The church is the it's for the people, like, so they're religious,
I guess.
So that would be the church. Yeah, I have a list, a laundry
Can I throw
list.
one last thing in here on this point before we move on? Going back to the I Love Mother song, not being afraid to shy away from the culty aspects of religion, I'll say it, where it's just Anne Lee as this even if, she is saying, like, yes, we all serve God, but, like,
they're marketing her as the reincarnation of Jesus.
Yes, and she has put herself in this place as the leader of this group of people, and how she knows best, and how, like, everything is going to be okay because she says it'll be okay. And they're doing all this, and at some points, especially in that song, they're doing it not necessarily for God, but for Anne.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, and some of the score had that sinister vibe, and I appreciate that they didn't just gloss over it to support Anne as the protagonist of the movie.
Yeah. But it's a sort of thing that, like, never, like, it didn't come up among her followers in the film. Like,
it's just the vibes.
All fervently believe, and the movie never explicitly says, because Anne is our protagonist, we want Anne to succeed in building her church and spreading her gospel and blah 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 blah.
And I felt it. You know what?
Yeah.
I've been an atheist for 10 years at this point, I think. And I've kind of thought I've touched upon this on previous podcasts, but, like, I might be a little bit more spiritual than I think, at least not necessarily in a religious sense, but just in the world and how we as humans relate to one another. And watching this movie, I bought into some of it, and that's crazy for me to say. And it's carried by the performances and how, like, deeply dedicated. There's another shot, and I think it was on that boat scene I was talking about as well.
Let's wait till cinematography. I have a big ass...
Well, it's not necessarily a cinematography thing, but it's just in this relation to connection where it's Mary, Ann, and Nancy, and Mary has her arms around the both of them, and their heads are kind of, like, all tucked in together.
Yeah, that's one of them.
And I'm just like, I don't know. And I think it's just maybe, like, the celebration of community and saying that, like, we are not to quote High School Musical, we're all in this together. But just the beauty and the power of that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to do
ahead.
cinematography instead of music, even though we started on music. But we're here. There are so many shots in this fucking film that are, like, genuinely some of the most beautiful constructions I've ever fucking seen. And there's a lot of shots that, like, I kind of feel like just service the film. But then there's also these shots, and it's especially true in the montage sequences or the flashes of, like, visions that are fucking painted with a golden fucking paintbrush. Like, and the first one that really struck me that I can remember is Anne is in the infirmary, and she's sat looking out the window. It's before she's had her revelations, and she's in the arms of Mother Jane, who is the original priestess, and they're sat together, and she's looking out the window, and we can only see half of Amanda Seyfried's face, and her eyes are red and puffy, and she's mourning the loss of her fourth child, and she's broken. And, like, the fucking composition of that shot where they're so small in the left corner of the screen, and just, like, it's so good. Is that
when she says that, like, she'll go to sleep, but then when she wakes up, she can't feel God the same way before she fell asleep?
Yep. That's one of them. Another one's when she's in a prison cell, and she has this, like, hallucination that there's all this hair on her arms, and then she kind of, like, turns and looks up, and it is
the lighting in that one, my God,
blackness all around her. But the thing is that it's one continuous movement, so the shot was, like, fucking lit. So it starts with a little light, like, halo affecting backlighting her, so we can see the hair, and it's glowing and radiant because she's, it's a vision. And then she turns and she starts singing, and it's just shadow and darkness all around her, and she keeps singing. And as she sings, she, like, the camera shifts ever so slightly, and we get a big ass beam of light coming in from the window, but it's all one fucking shot. And there's, like, barely any movement, and there's no changes in the lights. It's just, like, the most fucking crafted ass shot. It's fucking gorgeous, and it looks like a miracle is happening.
That's when she sees the angel with the crown
Yeah.
of stars, right?
Yeah, that's when she realizes
And
who she's
levitates.
Yeah, who she's gonna be. And it's like, it's the setup of this fucking miracle that, goes on to profess her life. And we have a solar eclipse happens. I'll get to the solar eclipse later when I want to talk about the music.
Mm-hmm.
But
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
the fucking, like, the third shot was her with Mary and what's the other woman?
Nancy. Well, Nancy's the niece.
Yeah, Nancy.
Mary is Thomasin McKenzie.
Again, arms around them, pulling them, and it's a fucking like reciprocation of not reciprocation. I'll say a resurrection of that shot I was talking about, looking out the window with Mother Jane. But now she's, the comforting source, the presence. And then there's a shot in that scene where I said it's the best scene I've ever seen acted. The building's burning down. She crawls up to Lewis Pullman. She's screaming. She's crying. She's, hysterical. The fucking emotion on her face as she whips, and it's just flames in the background, and bloodied her two, her brother and like one of her closest original 8 followers or whatever. He's dead. Brother's barely alive, clinging to life. So, on top of that scene already being such a fucking devastation and awful and horrible.
It's one of the toughest scenes I've ever watched.
Yeah, absolutely. Easily up there.
And it's like, I'm mainly a horror person, and there are some horror scenes that are tough. This is up there.
It is very up. Yeah, it's like,
it's devastating.
It's almost beyond the level of Prisoners, I would say.
I can't compare. I haven't seen it.
Prisoners is one of the toughest movies I've ever watched, and I feel like because in Prisoners,
don't spoil.
The emotional connection you have to the character is the person inflicting the act of violence. Here, the emotional connection is with the victim.
Yeah.
Or all of the victims. So like, and Prisoners is tough because you're watching someone whom you've grown to care for, and you're feeling the emotions of as your protagonist doing these fucking terrible things to someone who is not mentally capable in any facet to understand why he's being tortured. I feel like this movie was, or not the movie, just this scene was more difficult than the bulk of that film. Which is another fucking fantastic film, but Jesus Christ, I don't want to watch that film ever again. But then there's a shot of Mother Ann and William, her brother, and they're in a cart, and it's snowing, and they're all covered in blood. There's blood coming from their ears and from her forehead, and his eyes.
One of his eyes is like swollen shut.
Yeah, and she speaks a little bit. She turns her head to him. The blood kind of disappears from her face because she's not hiding it, but hiding it from the camera. It's a top-down shot. We just get and it's cold as fuck. He's barely moving, and it just has this profound sense of.
And she sings to him.
Yeah, and she sings to him, and it's beautiful because even he calls her mother. But it's like, it's this profound sense of connection, but also there's such a barrier. Like, they never touch, even though they're barely an inch apart. And it's like, and his arm's under her, but she never, like, her face goes so close to his, but never, presses her forehead against him, never, leans into his shoulder, whatever. And then we find out that he dies. And that's the last shot I wanted to talk about, where she sat with Mary. She's begun to forget things. Her body is failing her, and she's only 48 years old. And she sat in the apple orchard and looking up at the sun. And she's, preaching about apples and how they relate to people coming in and out of faith. And it's like the sun and her eyes look unreal. How green
there's
they
some
are. And it's like
light. I don't necessarily know if it's makeup or what, but like
they aged them a little bit.
Yeah, they aged them up just a bit, but it's noticeable enough that you're like, oh, okay, time has passed here.
Yeah, and it is like that last sequence And then, of course, when they bury Anne after she passes, or like the funeral for Anne where they're all dancing, I think probably the most beautiful part of this film to me. I don't know if that's true or not, but I really loved it a lot. I really loved that scene that Baz was talking about after there's a storm at sea and Anne has a vision and the Shakers save, the boat supposedly, and then they are allowed to pray, and we get a passage of time through their prayer and their worship on the decks, and it's just this continuous motion, continuous feeling.
As Ella McKay might say, tremendous feeling.
It's fucking beautiful, dude.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you
No,
off.
if you have cinematography, I'm gonna go to music next.
No, I'm saying I think we should jump to music because we're almost home.
Music. The film's score and sound design are top 3, I think, ever for me personally.
Dude, you're very hyperbolic on this. I support you.
What do you mean?
I'm glad that this has resonated so much with you.
Why am I hyperbolic? Because I don't like religion.
No, I'm just saying I'm shocked that a lot of this movie is like top of ever.
Yeah, it really, really struck me.
Because I don't ever hear you talking like that.
No, but I don't know what it was, but like every piece of score, conveyed such deep levels of emotion, and fucking every and it's all instruments of the time, or loosely of the time, until
the eclipse happens.
The solar eclipse happens,
and a fucking electric
guitar comes in, and because it's there are William's visiting another church, and he's preaching the end of days
of a different
religion, and he converts them all after the end of days didn't happen, and it's so we get to see a cultish, vehement belief religion through the eyes of someone who's an outsider, who's part of a religion that's very realistically similar, and he's like, whoa, what the fuck's, and it's such a dichotomy in that scene. And then with the electric, and then they start to play a little bit more with the music, there is a little electric guitar at later scenes, but the score is just so and because a lot of it, the songs are based on the song that the people would have sang at the time. And they lend into they are breathing and chanting together, and so there's lots of bah, 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 and the cello and bass will hit big strums to kind of add momentum and movement forwards. Yes.
In regard to the music, because a lot of it is not necessarily a cappella, but it's vocals as instruments.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. And breathing, or not moaning, but sort of thing. And I found it very interesting how when they're in Manchester, or at least still in the UK and on the boat, it's, at least with Anne, it's breathing and the kind of moaning type exaltation. But once they're in New York, her vocalizations are more screams.
Yeah.
And they're harsh.
And they become...
And they're shrill.
Loud shrieks at the top of her lungs, despite her her church being the largest it's gotten yet, and she's screaming, and it's it's fucking...
and it's almost in some ways she's bought into herself.
Yeah. She's completely bought into herself,
and just going, that religious zealot path of putting herself as that figurehead.
Yeah. I also really actually liked. In movies like this, there's usually a crisis of faith, and the person realizes, oh my God, what have I done? And then they kill themselves or whatever.
I think Lewis Pullman's character almost has that.
Yeah, but he doesn't fully.
And another thing we haven't brought up, he's
gay.
Or at least bi.
Yeah, he's gay.
He's seen waking up from sleeping with a man.
But one of the testaments of the church becomes, no sleeping with anybody.
Dare I say the testament.
Yeah, the testament of the church.
Is total celibacy.
Yeah.
And he cuts his hair, and he says to, I think that the other guy's name is Jacob.
Yeah.
He doesn't speak. He's asleep in bed. But he says to Jacob, oh, you've been a good friend to me, but this is it.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to. The movie's not about him. And I wonder if that was a historical fact that they added in, that William had relations with men. I'm just so curious about that part.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't explored. It didn't need to be. It's just spurring me on for some historical other stuff. Yeah.
It's a fucking beautiful and gorgeous and profound film in every sense of the word, as far as I'm considered, or as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, Jesus fucking Christ, dog. I loved this movie a lot. So much. I think it is a crime that it was not in this Oscar season at all. It is, yeah, fucking, and that scene as well, the score in that scene is so haunting and not disgusting, but like it feels...
No, it's
like defiling almost. I feel it's so...
reviling.
Yeah, deep and wrong and and then we finally get that emotional catharsis with the music at the... Oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful film. I really love cinema. I love cinema. That's my take. Baz, what's your Letterboxd rating?
There is a part of me that wants to give it a 4.5. I do think the pacing dragged a wee bit, which I haven't
so engrossed. I was so engrossed
because I don't like the vibe.
No, you can always harsh the vibe. It's not a harsh vibe to me.
That is my complaint. I think it dragged a bit once they were in America. For me, like everything up through when they arrived in New York was stellar. And I think also just, yeah, I don't know. Like there's some feeling in me that like doesn't want to give it 5 stars, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. I think I really have to sit with it and figure out, and I mean you guys will see this now in the video if you're watching what I wound up with my rating, but right now I just kind of have this, I don't know, this yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of stuck between like a 4.5 and a 5. And again, Letterboxd, if there were quarter star ratings, I'd hit that 4.75 and feel a lot better about it. But shan't the case. I already know what yours is, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Hey Jen, what's your Letterboxd rating?
5 stars alike, number 8 of all time.
Whoa. Is that higher than Sentimental Value?
It's right under Sentimental Value,
right
which is
under.
a 7. We're rewatching Sentimental Value this weekend.
As long as
the snow permits.
Yeah.
And that will determine which film takes it. The number 7 spot. That's my take. I loved this film a lot.
I'm glad.
I did not come into this film expecting to like it this much or feel this much and so deeply. That's my takes. Okay.
It's our longest podcast ever.
Bye.